Welcome everybody to Hodgepodge Woodworks. I got my buddy Harry here. Sadly, Double D won't be joining us. He's thought it was more important to go camping with his wife, so he's in the chat room. But so I like to go through the chat and say hi. So hi to Eva, John S. Casting, Sid's Repurposing, Rob at Copper Owl Woodturning, Dee Dee, as I mentioned, he's sitting there. Who else? Bill Ellis, welcome. And Golf to Actual, welcome. Thanks for joining. So, I was initially going to give you guys a choice on what I should turn out of these 4x4 cedar posts, and I found that was a little too crazy to be going into live without knowing what to turn, so I'll show you what I got planned now. This is a cedar post as well, but it's from a 6x6. I've cut it to a cube that's roughly 5¼ inches. If one of you guys can let me know if the audio is all right, that would be great. Keep thinking that in the back of my head that you can't hear me. Welcome, Vicky. So I'll take my bowl gouge and wait for the confirmation that the audio is okay. Okay, cool. So I'm going to turn the lathe on, and what I'm going to do first is just define or make a tenon here on the tailstock side. So what I've done is I've taken out the little point portion of my cup center, and then I've put the point of the blank in that, and then also in the part of the Morris 2 taper here, and then applied some pressure, so hopefully it'll stay together and stay on the lathe. So turn up the speed because it's got a lot of air. I want to go about as fast as I can, so I'm about 800. That should be good. Actually, I need to lower the tool rest a bit. Alright. Now this wood is really soft, so hopefully stuff just doesn't break off. Apologies that I won't be able to read the chats and answer all your questions, but I'll try to keep an eye out on it. Just going to stop and take a look to see if I'm fully round, which I am not. Let me go ahead and switch to the picture-in-picture. Maybe the other one would be better. Let's see how I'm at. Get Harry on camera. You can't see him at the moment. Just peek out here. I don't know why he decided to wear white. I told him he'd get dirty. A little bit further, and then I'll have a fully round tenon. A little more. And this is definitely too deep of a tenon, so I'm going to remove some of that wood. And earlier I noticed there's a crack that's kind of going through a little bit, so I'm just going to put some thin CA on that real quick and hit it with some activator just for safety's sake. I'll be using Star Bond if I can get the lid off. I could replace the lid because they always send spare lids, but I'll try and pry it off. Or get some pliers. I hope Double D has found some nice wood in the forest, assuming he's camping in a forest. I know there's no beaches near Kansas. Alright, so I'll get the activator. And then I will put a dovetail on the tenon. Make it a little bit smaller. And do the dovetail, I just always use my little diamond point tool. I don't know, just point tool, not diamond. It's like a pyramid tool, I guess. So that should be good. Let me make sure it's not too deep. You never want the bottom of the tenon touching the jaw, the face of the jaws. That gives a less secure chuck grab, I guess. Alright, we're good. So now I'm going to start shaping the outside of the bowl. I kind of want to swing the outside, and you're going to remove these closest points to the tailstock. Those get removed, and then the top is going to be somewhere on this line. And if you want the biggest, you want to try to have the end of the curve at the point. But sometimes you have to adjust it because all the points aren't exactly on the same plane. So I'll start shaping the outside a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of fishing, except for I went deep sea fishing before, and that's a lot of fun actually. You're out on a boat, and I think the first fish I caught was a kingfish, and it was like 30 pounds. Kind of really want to turn the speed up, so I'm going to move the tail rest a little bit in, and then try turning it up a little. It's just that there's so much air, it's a lot easier to turn when it's going faster. So I'm at 1,000 right now. I want to try to make sure to stay out of the line of fire just because this wood is so soft. Move the tail rest or the banjo in a bit more. Now, as you can see, you got to remove quite a bit of wood to get this part actually round. So it's kind of be like a funnel shape without the hole in it, of course. Trying to take too big of a cut right there. Now I know one thing you can do if you happen to have one of these corners break off is you can either just sand away the flat section on like a belt sander till you get the point back. You might lose a bit depending on how much of it the tip actually breaks off. Welcome, Dr. Bob. I saw that you had joined. So, take a little bit more off the bottom to get that round, and then hopefully I can start actually getting a shape that I like onto the outside. Vicky, this will be a bowl that has 3 points. You can see there's a bit of tear out here already. Another trick, I think you can try going against the grain here. Well, not really against the grain's going all sorts of weird directions, so I'll try to do that and get a cleaner surface. Can't really see anything though with the shadow, so I put my little whiteboard here to see if it helps at all. Harry can hold it. Let's see if that got the corners a little better. Not really. I think I'll just have to sand that edge to get it smooth. This is probably one of the worst woods to make one of these from since it's so soft. I think I'm going to switch to a freshly sharpened bowl gouge. Cutting much better now. One thing I'm kind of worried about right now is just how steep this bowl is going to be. It might be a little bit difficult to hollow out the whole inside because I don't have a bottom bowl gouge yet for whatever reason. So you can see there's a little flat spot here still, so I still got to take away a bit of material on there to get it round. If this blank was centered, you know, completely symmetrical like it should, and is cut completely to a cube, then you wouldn't have one area that's not round. So I probably didn't put it in on the lathe completely accurate. Let's see where we are at the points. So 2 points are pretty nice and clean, and then the one that has the grain coming in this direction is obviously tearing it out. So if I were to go in this direction, then this part would tear out similarly, so would this one. So I guess having only one is better than two. Like I said, I can try to just sand that clean. There's a bit of tear out, as you'd expect with this being such a soft wood. I'll try to go in the opposite direction, see if I get anything better. Let's see. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Well, in 2 of 3 spots. So I guess we'll just have to do a bit of sanding. Hopefully that removed all of the flat spot. There's barely a little bit. I think I might put a foot on here if I think I might put, yeah. Well, actually, let's see if you guys can see the little crack that's there. So there's a crack that goes right here. So I think I don't want to leave a foot. I think I'll just turn off this bit later because I want to keep a shoulder for the chuck. So once I reverse mount it to take away the tenon, I'll just shape this bit here. So let me go ahead and sand a little bit. And then I'll reverse it and put it in the chuck. Turn on the dust collector. Get some 80 grit since it's got this tear out. Turn the speed down a little. And then, of course, when you're trying to sand the corners where there's air, you don't really want to put your fingers there. So I'll do that with the power sander here in a moment. The good thing with it being so soft, it sands very well. But there's some tear out that's kind of deep, so this is probably just going to be a practice piece. Yeah, the grain looks pretty cool, Daniel. Alright, so that's pretty good, I think. I would blow off the dust right now to see about the tear out, but my air compressor is not in here at the moment. I'm having to do some trim work stuff outside, so it's out on my patio. So go up to the next grit and then go from there. I'll probably just put on now maybe Hampshire Sheen Danish oil at the end. Are you saying Howard's feed and wax, Bill? For whatever reason, Bill, I've never bought any of that stuff. I always see it at like Home Depot or Lowe's, and I'm like, I should try it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I guess because I have a whole cabinet full of finishes that I need to use. I really don't feel like I need to add more to it. Alright, go to 220. Probably only go to 320 on this, just because, like I said, there's, let's see if you can see it on camera. There's a bit of tear out here that you can kind of see. I don't know if all of you guys have seen it or not, but Hugh at Wouldn't It Be Nice has picked the new challenge for June, which is a bandsaw box. So that should be really interesting. I've got an idea for a design I want to do. I just have never done one, so should be a fun attempt at least. Yeah, hopefully, Amy. I'll go ahead and put some sanding sealer on it now, just so we can see what it'll look like in case it happens to blow up when I'm doing the hollowing. Try to wipe away some of this dust before I apply it. And this is just a myelin sanding sealer that I have thinned down with lacquer thinner, I believe. So this wood is like super dry. I don't know how old it is. I think we bought a travel trailer a few years ago, and I think this was inside one of the like storage bins underneath. There's like a 4 foot long piece of 6x6. It's the same wood that I made my little mimic jack piece from. But I'll let that dry a bit and check the chat. I don't think it's 80/20. I think I don't know. I'd have to Google it. Maybe it's 80/20. I can't remember what I used. But I'll go ahead and get it reversed now. As you can see, it just kind of makes its own indentations on the piece to hold it in place. So, seems fairly secure. I haven't had anything fly off yet. Now, I'll put on my chuck. Welcome, Nick. Actually, I'm obviously going to have to go cut this big nub off on the bandsaw. I should have turned that smaller. So I will be right back on camera once I trim this thing off, if I can find a good way to put it. And one thing I want to do before I put it in the chuck is try to put a center point on the bottom for realignment later. I don't know how well that's going to work. I also need to put the little point in my live center. Should be pretty interesting, Amy. I've done one other before, but I actually ended up not making it into a bowl. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm just going to have to wing it when I reverse it. So let me clear off my lathe bed real quick. And get the tailstock out of the way. Seems that it's not wanting to go on there perfectly straight, so I'm going to try to use the tailstock to apply some pressure. All right, that should work. All right. So now I'll just start taking away some wood here. Put it in forward, not reversed. Seems to be running pretty true. I don't see much out of balance there on this round part. One thing I've done before on my last piece is, there's quite a bit of wood here. Like, you could cut off this little piece if you want with a parting tool, because you're just basically cutting it all down to the corners. So if this was something more exotic than cedar, you might want to save a little bit of it for like an inlay for a box lid or something. Turn the speed up a bit more. I gotta be really gentle because the tenon, with the wood being so soft, could just break off. It's one reason I'm putting pressure towards the headstock. Because if you start applying pressure, perpendicular to the chuck, then it might be more prone to snap. You could obviously use like a Forstner bit to take out a lot of this material also. So there just snapped off a piece of wood. I don't know how much. Luckily, it was only, let's see, where can you see it? So there, this whole chunk just snapped off, but it's not at the corner, so lucky there. Let me try to put like a little mark or a cut to hopefully prevent the wood from snapping off and taking a corner with it. Sound is off. Are you guys unable to hear us or hear me? Hello? Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a good idea, Sid. I could do that, but it sounds like too much work for just a practice piece. I'll just have to guesstimate. All right, Ben. I'll try and work on my English accent. I'm probably trying to be a bit too aggressive at the moment, but once I get everything kind of round, it'll be a lot easier to make the clean cuts, obviously. I might need to sharpen a gouge. I didn't think this would make them dull as quickly as it did, but it being so soft. Trying to be too aggressive again. See where we are. It ripped off another chunk there, but that's not important. I'm going to put that whiteboard behind the piece again to see if that helps at all. Sorry you guys can't see Harry anymore. Okay, I guess Harry didn't like it there. Now comes the point where I can decide how risky I want to be with how thin the wall is, because you'll have to keep a fairly thin, or I mean a consistent wall thickness, because you can see this whole area here. So if you see it all, wavy in different sizes, it looks terrible. So I think I'm going to try to leave it about 1/4 of an inch, which I'm almost to at the point. Let's see where we at. We're at this point. Yeah, so that a little bit of the corner broke out here, but not too bad. So let me start taking away more of this material here in the middle. Welcome, Brian. Need to move the tool rest and lower it a little bit. So I'll go ahead and try to make it straight across the piece. Make sure nothing hits. See you later, oh no. Hi, Leona. Unless you're leaving. Oh. I see that you're just listening. So now at this point, I'm just going to start hollowing out like a regular bowl. Before I start removing too much of the bulk, I want to get the rim more defined. I'm going to have to sharpen this tool real quick. Apologies for that. Didn't expect the cedar to make them dull so quickly. And with such a soft wood, the last thing you want is a dull tool to where you have to apply too much pressure. All right. Much better. Let's just see where we are. Alright, so we're about to the point where I have to make the corners, or as I'd say, it would be the most dangerous part as far as breaking off a corner. So I'm going to try to get this thing back in place. Let's squish Harry a bit. Maybe see if this light helps me at all. That's not bad. Of course, there's this tear out here, like I mentioned. That can all just be sanded away on the flat side. I think I'm good with the points here as far as the thickness goes. There's a little bit more. I'll try to take one more pass. So I'm going to try to touch the bevel just to find out where it's at. And hopefully that's the last time I have to deal with the little tips, which, yeah, I think that's good. So now I'll just start hollowing or taking out more of this wall thickness to get it even. Okay, so I think we're good there. It's a little bit of sanding, but not too much. So now at this point, I just have this little bit here to get through, and then it'll be just like a regular bowl that you can't touch on the rim. Start hogging out some more of the middle and the inside, or the wood in the inside. Obviously, at this point, you don't want to put your hand in front of the tool rest. Otherwise, you'd break off a small corner of the wood and probably hurt yourself. Let's see if this helps at all. Check the wall thickness. So it's pretty close. It's a little thicker from about here. So just a couple more passes. Okay. A little bit more. Sorry if any of you guys have had any questions. Alright, let's see where we're at. So that means from about there I need to start the cut. I'm losing bevel support sort of at this curve. It'd be a lot better if I had ground off part of the heel here. Try to do like a shear cut and see if that can soften these little bumps. that's good enough. Yeah, I think the rest of it can sand off pretty easily. So now it's just like hollowing a regular bowl. Try to adjust the tool rest a bit to get closer, but obviously you can't get too close because the corners can break. I don't need this little guy anymore. Alright, lower it a little bit. Can turn the speed up a little more now. Got quite a bit of tool overhang here, so it's not cutting too great. Let me try this other tool rest I have and see if that works a little better. This is one of those robust J tool rests, so maybe I can get it in there towards the bottom. Alright, that might work. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, Brian, it's really weird with the different tool rest. Obviously, I got to having to keep my fingers like way back here, so it's really thick at the bottom. But I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it thick. Let's see where we are here. So it's a fairly decent curve. It's just still really thick at the bottom, and I guess if I went with the outside shape of it, if I went and tried to make it symmetrical, it'd be a really kind of funny shape at the bottom of the bowl, so maybe I'll just kind of leave it thick and then adjust the outside. Let's see. It's really a bad finish on the inside at the moment, but that can all be sanded. I'll do that off camera since we're close to 9 o'clock. I don't know if anybody else is doing lives after me, but I think what I'll do is go ahead and reverse chuck it and true up the foot or add a foot. So I'll use my trusty jam chuck. If I can find, I don't know where one of my Nova, the keys went. I might have to cut this a little shorter, or just cut down the diameter, because I don't know how. Kind of fits on its own. I'll turn down the diameter just a little bit. Alright, that should work. Now here's where I wish I had a little point from the live center before, but of course I didn't factor that in really. So let's just guesstimate. Close enough. Switch back to my other tool rest. I know I got quite a bit of meat down here at the bottom, so I'm not really worried about cutting anything away. There's spider web there. And get a smaller bowl gouge to get in this little corner. See if y'all can't see that very well. Basically making a little cove here. See if there's no marks from the tenon on the little foot. Alright, so I think we're good there. Now I'll kind of make the foot section here concave a little bit so it sits on the edge. Go to an even small, actually I'll use my detail gouge here. Now an idea popped in my head here where it would be cool to have this curve of the bowl to kind of, you could see it at the bottom of here, but you know, that's just something I maybe do at some other time, but or a design idea. Alright, so I guess I'll try that little trick that Mark, the gentleman Woodturn, always does that I think he got from somebody else. Oh, already happened. With this wood being so soft it just kind of broke off. But there we have it. There's the bottom Obviously it needs some sanding, and the inside is really terrible, but that's the general idea. Try to go to the different camera here. There is the 3-pointed bowl. So if any of you guys want to give it a try, go for it. Maybe I'll try sanding this up. I think it looks kind of cool. Obviously I need to do some shaping here where the edge meets the foot that I turned, and the inside obviously needs lots of power sanding. As far as the corners go, let me go to the overhead. This one turned out pretty much perfect, and so did this one. There's a little bit missing from the inside, but then this one has a bit of tear out. And so what you can do is pretending, or I guess if you have a big disc sander, you can put it on the face and then just sand it back till the torn out sections are gone. And just do it on all three, try to make sure it's even, and then you'll get crisp corners again. But I suppose it's a little past 9 o'clock, so I suppose that's it for today. So I'll set the little guy here, and want to thank all you guys for watching. Sorry that no earworm was here. You can blame Daniel on that one. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye for now.